listening to the Art of Homeschooling podcast, where we help parents cultivate creativity and connection at home. I'm your host, Jean Miller, and here on this podcast, you'll find stories and inspiration to bring you the confidence you need to make homeschooling work for your family. Let's begin.
Self-care? What's that? A self-care plan? Who are you kidding? That's how I would have responded had you asked me this question early on in my homeschooling journey. Jean, what's your self-care plan? Because I was always last on my list. The mother of three, trained as a classroom teacher, who felt like I was supposed to always put everyone else first. Perhaps you know what I'm talking about. So I wonder, where did I even learn that? I'm not sure, but I definitely had that toxic combination of feeling like I should do it all and believing that I could until I couldn't. And then I felt like something was wrong with me. This is not what I want for you. I want you to decide right now, today, while listening to this podcast episode, that you will make a plan to take care of yourself. It doesn't have to be elaborate. I promise you. It doesn't have to take hours out of your day. And I'm going to share some really simple ideas here in just a moment. But first, I want to encourage you to convince you really to create a self-care plan that's thoughtfully constructed, an intentional practice to promote your health and well-being. Because when we really take care of ourselves, we tap into what gives our life meaning, whether that be artistic expression, time in nature, connecting with family and friends, our spirituality. We stop depleting ourselves all the time by giving and giving and giving. And instead, we nourish ourselves. We fill ourselves back up so that we feel good inside and can give from a place of that fullness. Are you in? If so, head over to my Instagram page and give me an I'm in or a thumbs up or a heck yeah in the comments of the post for this episode number 148. You'll see a thread over at art.of.homeschooling on Instagram or Art of Homeschooling with Jean on Facebook. Let's do this together. We're starting a self-care revolution for homeschooling parents. Here's my favorite way to do self-care. A morning practice that includes a few moments just for you to be quiet, alone with yourself, and anchored in the present moment. First thing, before you start your homeschooling day, before you start even engaging with your children, if that's possible, let's keep it super simple. That's a theme around here. So here's my approach. Choose an acronym for your morning practice to help you remember to do this each day soon after you wake up. I think of this as anchoring your intention with an acronym. Anchoring your intention with an acronym, which is just an abbreviation formed from the first letters of words that then becomes an easily remembered word itself. Here are some ideas. The first one is ME, M-E. The M stands for meditate and the E for exercise. I did this one for years. I've tried all of these at different points in my own journey. So see if there's one that resonates with you today that you just might want to begin with. So the ME acronym, meditate and exercise, you could meditate for 5 minutes using a free tool like Insight Timer that has thousands of guided meditations. And then do some simple stretching, yoga, or a workout routine. Or maybe your E stands for express and you might choose to write in your journal. Super simple. Here's another one. IQ. IQ stands for inner quiet. To me, starting my day with a moment of quiet is the very best. And for years, this was my practice, particularly early on in my homeschooling journey. I'd make a cup of hot tea, hold it in my hands while standing in the middle of the kitchen, close my eyes, and recite a poem to myself. It was the Rudolf Steiner poem that's literally called Inner Quiet. You could memorize any poem, though, or prayer and do this each morning. Here's another one. Y, W-H-Y, stands for walk, hydrate, and yoga. You get the idea, right? Here's a longer one that comes from the author Claire Diaz Ortiz in her book, Design Your Day. And the acronym is PRESENT. I love this one because to me it stands for staying in the present, but also giving yourself a present each morning. So the P is for prayer, R, read, E, express, S, schedule, E, exercise, N, nourish, and T, track. Start with a prayer, read something inspirational, express yourself in a journal, schedule your day, get a little exercise, eat, and then track your habits. Any of these acronyms can work, or make one up for yourself. It's just a simple way to keep you accountable by reminding you to take good care of yourself and add a little balance to your day. For me these days, with my kids all grown and out of the house, I keep a basket of inspirational books, 3 little books right beside the chair I like to sit in our living room. And after my husband, Brian, makes me a cup of coffee each morning, I know, so sweet, I take the basket and my coffee and head outside to the deck. First thing, I often find something in one of my daily readings that I write down at the top of my planner. And honestly, this little simple practice of taking in the bird song, I love hearing the birds early in the morning, and the nature of my backyard, coupled with some inspiring words, really carries me through the day. It's so simple and yet so nourishing. Here are a few other ideas for you to think about. Keeping a poetry journal by copying or printing and pasting poems you love into your journal. Collage journaling. I'll leave a link in the show notes to a great video conversation I had with my friend Sheila, where she shows her journaling practice as meditative inner work. Bullet journaling with a daily brain dump. Gratitude journaling. I love just writing down 3 things I'm grateful for, and I often do this at the end of the day, right before I go to sleep. 1 line a day journaling. Those 5-year journals, if you've ever seen one, they're really cool because as you keep going, they let you then see what you were thinking last year at the same time. Taking a quiet kitchen moment to box breathe and drink a glass of water, taking a hot bath, indulging in a piece of chocolate and a novel every afternoon before cooking dinner. Whatever you choose, be intentional about that simple little slice of time and that little practice, tiny practice. Visualize it filling you up with each breath you take. I hope these ideas inspire you to create a self-care plan that works for you. Keep it as simple as it needs to be for it to work regularly, for you to be able to consistently do the practice. Believe me when I say it all starts with deciding that you matter so that you can then find a way to answer the question, hey, what's your self-care plan? You can find the show notes for this episode with links to all the resources I've mentioned at artofhomeschooling.com/episode 148. Just remember this anytime you get off track or you feel like there's chaos all around you. Here's a great quote from author Anne Lamott. Almost everything will work again if you unplug it just for a few minutes, including you. Thanks so much for joining me in this episode today, and I'll see you next time.
That's all for today, my friend. But here's what I want you to remember. Rather than perfection, let's focus on connection. Thanks so much for listening, and I'll see you on the next episode of the Art of Homeschooling podcast.